This is hard, and I was under no illusions when I embarked on this path. But I think it's the right thing to do. I think it's good for our democracy. We will be more effective if we are unified going forward. Part of what we knew would be that there would be some politics interjecting.
Well, that was President Obama in Russia at the G20 summit, addressing congressional opposition to a strike on Syria.
Turns out some of his toughest opposition, though, is coming from Democrats. Who is playing politics? And if Congress votes no, will the president still go ahead and strike? Those are some of the open questions facing us. Republican Congressman Randy Forbes joins us. He's on the Armed Services Committee, a very relevant committee. Congressman, thanks a lot for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having us this morning.
Does the president have the votes? And if he doesn't, will he do it anyway?
Well, I can't answer the latter question because this president has ignored the law several times already, so I don't know what he'll do. He may totally bypass the War Powers Act, but I can tell you, he's not just losing these votes, they're running away from him. And I listened to you guys talking earlier. You said that some of the American people were confused. I really disagree with that. I think the American people are not confused. I think what's confusing here is the president's foreign policy, and they might have been confused on Obamacare and the president's bailout bills, but they are not confused about this. They are pretty united that they don't believe that we should be going into Syria, and I think you're going to see that reflected in the vote, especially in the House.
And, Congressman, you are on record with saying that you will not vote for military action in Syria. So given that the Assad regime appears, given the evidence that we've seen, to have used chemical weapons, what should be done?
Well, I think the number one thing we should do is not take our eye off of the two major problems we've got with our national defense right now. And the first one is Iran, and I think that, unfortunately, Syria is causing us to take our eyes off of that. But the second thing, Allison, is that to really recognize that, you know, we've had a dismantling of our military right now, $587 billion of cuts to our national defense. Then we had sequestration. They've cut our F-22s back from 387 to 187.
So we're not prepared or capable to do anything in terms of the chemical weapons strike?
We are capable of doing this, but I can tell you, we have stretched our military way too far. We have had our pilots sitting on the tarmacs and not even allowing them to be training because they wouldn't give them the fuel. I think the number one thing we need to do to send a message around the world is to change all the direction we're heading and these cuts and begin rebuilding our military. That'll send a very strong message.
So, Congressman, you're against this. It seems like most Republicans in the House are, but your leaders are for it. John Boehner, Eric Cantor came out almost immediately to back the president's plan. Why did they do that?
Well, I can't answer for them. I wish they had not done that because the Speaker had mentioned that he thought the President should listen to members of Congress. Well, I would have liked to have seen the Speaker and the Majority Leader, both of whom I have a lot of respect for, but I would have liked to have seen them listen to members of Congress when we get back before they made this decision, because I've talked to a lot of our members, and I can tell you that the overwhelming majority of them are adamantly against this action in Syria. And as you mentioned, the Democrats are equally opposed to it.
So, Congressman, you've made a compelling case for beefing up our military and the message that that would send. But back to the chemical weapons. It is an international red line. There are international laws against using chemical weapons. Are we supposed to just sit on our hands while Syria does that?
Well, Allison, I think one thing, the president's waited too long. He's lost any advantage he would have in sending that message. And the second thing is, you know, we don't send strikes across the bow. The president has not made a case yet for what his military objective is, the strategy of how we would accomplish that, and then the exit strategy for doing it. One of the things that many of us know who sit on the Armed Services Committee is you don't get to pick the number of days you're going to be at war. And when you launch a war and say we're only going to be there 48 hours, nobody can guarantee that. And I think the American people are not ready for this huge commitment right now and going to war with Syria.
Congressman Randy Forbes, member of the House Armed Services Committee. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks so much, Congressman.
Thank you, guys, for having me.
Well,